Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach. Today, we would like to welcome on Paige Rogers. Paige has had an incredible season with her horse, I'm a Savvy Investment. They started off the championship season by winning the NSBA World Show and Amateur Horsemanship, as well as winning the Cinch Invitational Horsemanship Challenge. She then went on to have strong showings at the Congress and finished this year at the AQHA World Championship Show as fifth place in the amateur horsemanship and earned a bronze champion globe in the amateur equitation. Congratulations on just a killer season, Paige. That's so fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a really fun fall run.
Yeah, it all came together at the right time. I mean, you started the year off really strong at Sun Circuit too. Didn't you win a national championship there as well?
I ended up second in the horsemanship in that final four. And then I was in the final four for the EC as well. So Sun Circuit was super fun. That's always one of the shows we really look forward to. And I think that kind of lets you figure out where you're really going to fall through the rest of the year and what you need to work on. So it was the first time I felt like I got to go into that show without having huge projects ahead of me. Every single year before that, the lead change was still really green, or the EC was brand new the year before that. So it was finally the year that I felt like I was going in on more of a finished horse, and then I could kind of finesse things through the summer. And then, like you said, it kind of all came together just in time for the NSBA World Show, where we had a lot of success, and we just kind of ran with that through the end of the year. I do kind of feel like when you get to the NSBA World Show, the schedule is just so crazy through the rest of the year. And we don't have any schooling shows, at least that we go to from that point forward. So whatever we have at the NSBA World Show is what we hope will kind of float us through the rest of the year, because there's not much time to go in the pin and fix things, as you know. So yeah, it was a great year. And Sun Circuit, like I said, is always one of our favorites. So it was fun going in this year with a little bit more solid of a foundation.
Absolutely. I'm sure it just gave you so much more confidence to finish out the championship season, to know that you start strong and just be able to build from a good place.
Definitely. Like I said, it was the first year that we were new to something, whether it be the lead change or an element in the pattern or a class altogether. So I honestly, like you, have a lot of green horses. Even through my youth career, I was always the first one to do any of the pattern stuff on my horses in the past. So to have one for this long where you go in a class and kind of know what you're going to get is a really different feel, but it's obviously really nice being able to trust him and know what I'm going to get. And then it's just kind of fun at that point and less of a guessing game when you go on the pin.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that for just a second before we get into all your wins, but just the different mindset that you have to have when you're stepping in there with a green horse versus now that he's a more finished horse. What's it like to make that transition and realize, like, oh, I can trust him. He is broke now.
Oh my gosh, it's completely different. I mean, when I started out with him, our first show was the Spring Ocala show in 2022 that I did any of the pattern stuff with him. And it was just horsemanship and showmanship. But I was new to the quarters. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew my horse. And so there was no pressure. I mean, you just go in there. And for me, it was all about building my horse's confidence in the pin. And if that meant I had to slow something down or school something, it was no big deal. But as you continue to kind of get through that phase, and then you get to the point where you start winning some things, then there's definitely more pressure. I mean, it changes because now you know people are watching you when you go on the pin, whether it be where you put your lines or how aggressive you are. And so now that we're kind of through the phase of just getting through the elements, now I'm having to push things like my extended trots and my extended lopes. Like before, I could kind of float through with just going a little bit forward, but now I'm realizing it's sometimes keeping me from being a little bit higher up. So yeah, it's a completely different mindset, because before just getting through the pattern was the goal. And now it's going in and pushing everything a little bit more. And that is why it's nice to have the schooling shows every now and then, or the ones that aren't really high stakes, because you can go in and test something and see if it works. And that's really what I've been working on, I guess, when I go practice through these fall shows, is just pushing what I know I already have a little bit more to try to get an extra plus half that's really making the difference between being first or being fifth. So definitely a different mindset. It's definitely a lot more pressure, but it's also a lot of fun because now I'm really figuring out, my horse's bar name is Rudder, and I'm really figuring out like his limitations or how far I can really go with him. And it's been a lot of fun kind of exploring that and now building his confidence with all new stuff.
Do you feel that the pressure is internal pressure, or do you have people coming up to you and kind of telling you what they expect from you?
It's definitely more internal. I think we all are really hard on ourselves, or at least I am. Like anytime I have a bad go or do something wrong, Sarah doesn't have to say a word because she knows I'm already overthinking all of it. So it's definitely not coming from anyone. I think it's just the pressure we put on ourselves. You know, you go out and watch some really good runs, and or you watch the people that are consistently beating you just by a little bit, and you figure out what you need to improve on to kind of get up to that level. And at the same time, having a horse that's still only 6, he's still pretty young. So, you know, it's different trying to push things with a 6-year-old versus someone who's maybe been with their horse 4 or 5 years. They can go and push something and they know what they're going to have, but it's still kind of scary, kind of treading that thin line of like, how far do I push this to try to get my extra plus half that might make me the winner? Or do I just kind of stay in this little safe box that I've been in and guarantee myself in the top 5? You know, that's kind of maybe the rut that I've been in the last couple shows. So yeah, it's honestly part of the positives that I think come from the competition in the quarter world. It's just making me want to be better every time I go out there. And it's only because everyone around me is really good. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, but definitely pressure that I just put on myself.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Elevate Your Ride. We're so excited to continue helping you elevate your performance in the saddle. To keep bringing you quality content and information, we're asking you to help us. Tell your friends about us on our podcast, like and share a meaningful quote you saw on our social media, write us a review on Spotify or Facebook. You can also join our Facebook group and ask all your health and fitness questions, or maybe post a success story to motivate another amateur. Your engagement really helps us support and encourage the equestrian community. We're also inviting sponsors and supporters to help us build our show. As a sponsor, starting at just $150, you'll receive marketing on our podcast, website, and growing social media platforms for your business. It's the perfect way to connect with the equestrian community and showcase your brand to our dedicated listeners. And for our supporters, your $50 contribution gets you a shout out on our social media and website. Every bit of support really helps fuel the show and helps us inspire and motivate equestrians. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can scroll down to the show notes of this episode and look for the Become a Supporter or Become a Sponsor links and click on those to get some more information. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to continue expanding our platform and helping you elevate your ride. Tell us a little bit more about the World Show this year, how it went for you guys. What were the ups? What were the downs? Were there any challenges that you guys had?
The World Show ended up being a really great show. It was different this year because I was no longer level 2 in the equitation since I won it last year, and that keeps you out for a little bit. And then I wasn't in the level 2 horsemanship because of the points. So I had less classes overall, which also I think puts a little bit more pressure every time you go in because you know that's just like your one go at something. But there were some challenges at the Congress in the wash bay. Actually, he moved away from me when I was washing his legs and the water was really cold, and he stepped on his shoe and pulled it half off and then stepped back down on it. And so the nail kind of went through the bed of his foot and he was a little sensitive on it. So we've had a hospital plate on his foot. And just
Oh,
because of that, yeah, it's completely fine. But anytime the soft dirt presses up on the bed of his foot, he's just a little sore on it. So we put the hospital plate on and he's completely sound. But just with the shoe, I'm so careful with like wearing bell boots and maybe not like lunging as much as I normally would. So I went into my first showmanship, and he was a little bit fresh for that, which ironically, showmanship, I think, is the only class I have to be really tired for. A lot of people like their horses a little more fresh for the showmanship, but that is the class he will tell on me in a heartbeat. So it probably wasn't best that we started on that class because he was still a little fresh. But then we just kind of got him back to into his normal routine because he was doing completely fine. And after that, I guess we went into horsemanship. He was great in the finals and just with me every single stride. I couldn't have asked for him to be really any better for me. And we ended up fifth in that. And then we went into the level two showmanship. He was also really great in that one. We ended up third in that class. That was the level two showmanship. And then Eck was all we had left. So we finished on a high note. We ended up third in the level three equitation. And so, yeah, really great show overall. It was just different not having as many classes as I did last year.
Yeah, especially with it being spread out over such a long time, like, that gives you it's nice because it gives you time to think, but sometimes time to think isn't always a blessing, right?
Exactly. And I had 2 days off between his showmanship and the equitation, I believe. Maybe it was the horsemanship and the equitation. 2 days of nothing. So I gave him like a day off. I just let him kind of hang out and sleep. And then the day before when I started preparing him, I was, starting to second guess why I wasn't doing stuff the day before. So yeah, it's a different mindset when you have too much time to really think about things. And then you kind of get into crunch time where I'm like, oh my gosh, I just lost an entire day. But he's always right there for me, especially towards the end of the show. They're all definitely more tired, but I'm an overthinker and an over prepper. That's for sure. So yeah, it was 10 days all in. So it's a long time to be away.
It is, and it really helps to have that really strong relationship with your horse. Like you said, he probably needs to be a little less fresh for the showmanship versus some of your other classes. Like, it's really important to know all those things as you go into a bigger show. But what were some of your goals that you had for the world show this year?
The goals I had was just to be consistent and to really stay out of the penalties. I do get in my head a little bit. I think at some of the bigger shows, it comes from my youth career and the paint world. I just always kind of push something a little too hard and end up in the penalties. And I was last year in the horsemanship. I took a lope step in my extended trot. So definitely the goal was to stay penalty free. And he came off such a great Congress. I mean, all 6 of my patterns, the prelims and the finals and all the patterns. He was so, so good. So I really just wanted to build on that because I feel like he's getting to the point where he's just reliable and consistent. And obviously, every couple of shows, there's a little slip up or a little mistake. And I'm just trying to get to the point where I can eliminate those as much as possible. And so, yeah, I think I accomplished all of those things for the most part. He's just right there with me. And like you said, knowing your horse is so important. And I do know him like the back of my hand. And that helps tremendously at the shows.
Yeah, all the time and effort that you put in outside of the show pen, like, obviously shows. So was this your first Globe from the World Show, from the Quarter Horse World Show?
It's my second Globe. I ended up, 3rd in the level 3 equitation last year as well.
Oh,
So,
wow,
just kind of
congratulations.
repeated last year a little bit.
Yeah, and
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's so fun taking those home.
especially in the EC, like, that is a class that I feel like really epitomizes a strong exhibitor, and last year, the whole pattern was without irons, and then this year, wasn't your whole rail work without irons?
Yes, we had the option to drop them, cross them, or take them off, and I think we all just took them off. So, we all obviously dread that a little bit, but we know when the fall run starts, it's fair game, and so, it was fun to go out there with all those girls and get through our couple of laps without stirrups, but I think we all did a really good job. So, yeah, it's nice to have that behind us for sure.
So, what do you do to stay fit knowing that can be an option as you're going into the fall majors?
Oh gosh. Honestly, probably not everyone's strategy. Every time I ride at the barn, I do a little bit of no irons here and there just to make sure my horse is comfortable with it. But really at the shows, and it was part of my strategy last year with the pattern with no irons at all, was just to have fresh legs. So I'm in a little bit of a workout routine here and there at home. I definitely could be better. But when I go to the show and I know there's a chance, I've realized when I practice too much leading up to it and then I go in the class and my legs are sore, I probably don't look as good as if I were just to go in with fresh legs, knowing it's coming and just kind of save up all my strength for the couple minutes that I need in the class. That's really what's been working best, which probably isn't everybody's strategy, but that's definitely what works best for me.
From like a fitness personal trainer standpoint, that makes the most sense to me actually because you are not going to build strength in like the 2 days before your class. Like you're just going to wear yourself out. So, I totally agree with that that you should be building your strength while you're, at home and in the months and the weeks in between the horse shows, and then once you get to the show, you kind of got to show off the work that you've been putting in at home. Cramming in at the horse show is just going to make you more tired, more sore, less limber. It's probably going to wear your horse out too. Like making sure that you're putting in the practice at home. That way, when you get to the show, you can just kind of go and show off.
Absolutely. That's exactly how I feel about it. It's the little bit of time here and there that I kind of get familiar with the placement, the muscle memory of all of it. And then, yeah, you can't go in tired. It doesn't work prepping 3 days before.
So, what do your workouts look like at home? What do you do?
I recently bought an in-home gym. It's called the Fit, and it's a little platform system that has a screen. So for me, that's really the only way I can keep some sort of consistent routine, and I need someone there to hold me accountable. So I've got like little classes that I can watch where it's not live, but I feel like the person on the other side is talking to me and keeping me going. So I've been doing that a lot and really my interest in that particular machine all came from my college workouts. I did no working out at all before college. And then, of course, when we ride for a team, we're in a really structured workout program with trainers. So I knew what I needed to do to get back to where I wanted to be fitness wise. And so, yeah, this platform just allows me to do pretty much every exercise that I was familiar with from college. It was just kind of reminding me how to do it. And then again, having somebody there that held me accountable a little bit. So yeah, that's kind of what I do when I'm at home. And because it's just upstairs, I probably use it more often than I have with every other gym setup where I actually had to drive somewhere. And so yeah, that's what I do. But again, I'm not in any sort of routine that I'm proud of. I definitely need to be better. But when I am home, I try to get up there at least for 30 minutes every day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, that's great. Your workouts don't have to be 2 hours long for them to be effective. You just have to find a routine that works for you and then keep building on it. But I actually like that you said that you chose that one specifically because you know that it works well for you. If somebody's wanting to maintain their fitness goals, something that's really important is knowing where your strengths are and knowing where your weaknesses are. Like if you know that you're never going to drive to the gym, why would you get a gym membership that's 20 minutes away? Or if you know that you need that accountability of another person, why would you only do your workouts on your own? Like there's so many options now. Like you can work with personal trainers, you can do group classes, and you can even do those online. You don't have to go to an actual gym. Or you could do what you did, where you got the mirror set up, where it's a person looking back at you, helping you coach through it. So I think that knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are and kind of using those to your advantage definitely helps building and maintaining that strong fitness routine. So, how have you noticed that keeping a strong workout routine and making sure that you're strong and fit, how has that impacted you in the saddle and in the show pen?
I think core strength is so important when riding. I think that's what I notice the most. I think especially in the horsemanship, we're almost like flexed the entire time in the core when you're riding around. And sometimes I wear one of my little fitness watches when I'm riding, and you just won't believe like what your heart rate gets up to and stuff like that when you're just extended trotting around and holding yourself. So I think just having a really strong core, whatever workout it takes to get you there, just makes it more natural in the saddle so that you're not really having to think about getting yourself into that position where you're holding everything tight. It's just easy. And so that's probably what I notice the most when I do my workouts. Obviously, I think lower leg strength is important too, but I probably get more strength from my lower legs just from practicing at home, just from riding, definitely dropping stirrups, even Western. I think that's really a good indicator of where you stand with your lower leg strength. And then if I need to fix something, I go up in the gym and do a little bit. But I think with the amount that I ride, that's just kind of how I keep my lower leg strong.
Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopindowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
How often do you get to make it out to the barn?
It depends on my work schedule, but if I'm home, I try to go almost every day that I'm off. So my schedule's really crazy, but I'd say on average 2 to 3 times a week I'm riding. And Sarah's about an hour from me. So it's usually like an all afternoon or an all morning thing. And then I have the other half of the day to do whatever. So I do try to get out at least twice a week if I can.
And that shows too, like, with the relationship that you have with your horse and just how much you guys have grown together over the past couple years. All those rides are definitely paying off, right? Not only just with physical strength, but the bond that you guys have, knowing where you can push him, knowing where his strengths are and where maybe you need to kind of carry him a little bit. Like, that's really cool that you can make that much time out at the barn. That's perfect.
Absolutely. That's honestly the only way I think I can really make it work with a green horse. I know a lot of people live further away and fly in to ride their horses here and there, and that's just dependent on where they live and where their trainer is. But I've always had pretty green ones, and I've probably the most I've lived from my horse is now this hour drive. When I was a youth kid, I was about 30 minutes away. So I was out at the barn every single day after school. And to me, that was the only way that I could really make, like you said, that bond with the younger ones work. Because if you're just riding once every couple of months or 2 or 3 times here and there, it's just not enough because your horse is changing so often with your trainer. And every time you ride, it's a little bit different. And I think if I were to live further away, I would need something a little more solid and finished and just kind of maintain that. But I do love starting over with young projects. And I think that's only because I do live close and I can kind of develop with them more quickly than someone who lives further away and can't ride as often.
It's such a blessing to be close to your barn. For the last, 6 years, lived, an hour and 15 minutes away from the barn, and it doesn't seem that far, but I didn't realize how much time I was spending in the car, and I recently moved, and now I live 20, 25 minutes away from the barn, and, oh my gosh, it's so nice to live so close to the barn again. I had forgotten how nice it was to live that close. I'm definitely enjoying that. So, something that I really enjoyed about watching you show, on the live stream and stuff this year, is I really, really appreciated your positioning that you had when you show. You just look really strong, really confident. You have really open shoulders, they're nice and back. Your leg is right underneath you. You look very effective when you ride. How do you think you developed that strong position for the pattern classes?
I think a lot of that just carries over from my college years. I had a couple trainers as a youth kid that really focused on body. And then I had some trainers that just really focused on being a horseman and learning how to ride, how to work through issues and stuff like that. So I had very different experiences depending on where I was at. And I'm grateful for all of them because I think you need a little bit of all of it to really come together and have the full package. But it really was college that I think Lauren can attest to this, where we just drove body, 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 because you're not going to make the horses any better. I mean, they are what they are. And I think that was the first time I just stopped worrying about getting the horses through the pattern or trying to teach one how to pivot a little better. I just kind of left what I had with the horse and just worried about me. And thankfully, that's just carried over because I really don't do a lot of body work now. Every now and then, Sarah will tell me to fix something. But usually, when I go out to the barn, I'm like, riding. I'm not worried about my body at all. And it's just a couple minutes before I go into the show pen that Sarah says a couple things to me that gets me back in. Okay, worry about yourself a little bit. Trust what you have with your horse. But I took a 6-year break from riding after college to pursue my career, and I honestly didn't know if I was gonna come back to riding at all, if I was even gonna have the time for it, and so I guess I'm just really lucky that a lot of that followed through, and I still remember things. I was on the University of Georgia's equestrian team, and I had Mary Maneely as my coach, and I still remember
Oh, love
a lot of
Mary.
things. Love Mary, she was great, and there are so many things that I remember that she would say to me about my body that I just try to run through my mind here and there to kinda get me back in worrying about myself mode.
Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pin anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and am here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencurvelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Do you specifically remember anything your coaches or Mary said that impacted like your body positioning? Like, do you remember what specifically a coach said to you or how do you practice that really had an impact on that?
I think something Mary would say a lot, especially if you tend to have like an arch in your back a little bit, she would always say, get in whatever position you think you're going to show in, and then mentally take your belly button and push it towards your spine. And that kind of brings the arch out a little bit. And then for my lower legs, we would always stand up in the saddle and then, as quietly as possible, just sit right down. And I think that kind of keeps your legs, especially if your stirrups are where they should be, nice and underneath you. So I think about those things a lot right before I go in. Sarah's really good about bringing my shoulders back. I think that's something that is kind of hard to do naturally if you're trying to keep your elbows in. Because I think if you keep your elbows really tight to your side, like your shoulders just naturally fall forward. So I try to find my elbow position first and then roll my shoulders back. So those are just a couple things that I try to run through my head, especially the 3, 4 minutes right before I go on the show pen where I'm trying to focus on myself again. But I think just riding like that as much as possible makes it natural. So you shouldn't have to make a whole bunch of changes right before you go in. But I know when we're focusing on our horse, all of that goes out the window too. But when you get, there's something about getting your show clothes on and zipping your top all the way up that kind of puts you back in that mental space of, okay, now let me worry about me. And then I just kind of let a few of those things run through my head, and anything else that looks out of place, Sarah will tell me. So
I love all of that. So I'm going to blow your mind a little bit. If you focus on strengthening your lats, which is kind of your mid back, like underneath your shoulder blades, if you focus on strengthening there specifically, it will allow you to keep your elbows in and your shoulders back at the same time. When the lats get a little bit weak, they have a really hard time keeping the shoulders back while the elbows are in nice and tight. Like if you stand up really quick and roll your shoulders down and back, you'll feel the lats pulling those shoulders back. And then if you bring your hands forward into that horsemanship position, you'll realize that it's a little bit more unstable for your lats to keep your shoulders in that position. So if you focus on strengthening that area specifically, doing like underhand rows or gorilla rows, bench rows, standing rows, all that sort of thing, and really focus on keeping your elbows in and your shoulders back while you're doing all those exercises, it'll make it easier to keep your shoulders back and your elbows in.
I love that. I'm running through all of that as we speak, and you're so right. I can feel the pulling there under
Yeah.
my shoulder. So definitely something I should work on, because I think that's what Sarah probably tells me the most is pull your shoulders back, pull your shoulders back. And if I
Yep.
disregard my elbows, it's natural for my shoulders to be back. But if I think about my elbows, then it's a little bit of a strain. So definitely something I need to work on in the gym.
Yeah, for sure. Focusing on the lats specifically. And then every time that you hear your trainer tell you to bring your shoulders back, feel the lats engage to keep your shoulders back. And then when you're riding, if you can still feel your lats engage, you know that your shoulders are still back. If you feel those lats turn off, you know that your shoulders have probably rounded forward, your elbows have probably gone away from your side. So if you can develop that body connection, it makes it so much easier. So it's not something you have to think about. Every once in a while, you can just say, okay, am I still feeling my lats? Yes, no, and kind of go from there.
Oh, I like that a lot. I'll definitely be using that.
Yeah, yeah, a little trick for you.
That's one of the fun things about having Ellie as a personal trainer because she rides and shows, and so she's able to take some of these things that trainers tell us to do of get your shoulders back, and then she can apply it in a way where you're like, "Oh, engage this muscle," and it will lead to that rather than just thinking about maybe exactly what they're saying. She can give you a little kinda back way of getting to it that makes it a little bit easier, and so I know I've had a lot of fun being able to learn that from her.
Well, thank you,
Absolutely, I love
Lauren.
that so much because even in college, we had personal trainers for our team, but they weren't ever horseback riders, so I think it was
Nope.
hard for them to really pair what we needed to do workout-wise in the gym that would translate to us on the horses and what would actually be advantageous or detrimental sometimes too, so it's great to have somebody that has knowledge on both sides. But yeah, I guess I'm just grateful that kinda stayed with me through the 6-year gap that I took.
I can't believe that it was 6 years because it doesn't feel like it was that long that you were out of it, but wow, that is a long time and just a huge testament to all the things that you learned as a youth and from Mary about your body position because, I mean, riding horses, one of the most beautiful things that I love about it is you can pick it up years down the road and it's like riding a bike, right? Like, you might probably sore a little bit for the first week or 2, but then after that, sure, it's just game
Yes.
on, let's go.
Absolutely, it is just like riding a bike for sure.
Yeah, did you feel like anything had changed style-wise in those 6 years?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. The showmanship, I mean, I guess I never really had, like, real showmanship buttons on my youth horses, and so when I went to Sarah's barn, I mean, the way they do showmanship, that was the one class that really took me a minute to get back into because, I mean, including college, I took, like, a true 11-year break from showmanship. So, just the steps, like, I remember walking around my house knowing that I was gonna do showmanship in the near future, and I'm like, "How would I go from, like, a pivot position to like a back position, just like the little steps that you take in between, like I lost it, And so that was definitely something that took me a minute to get back into. And then the buttons that they have for the showmanship are just like something I've never had before. And then the eck was really different. The horsemanship style wise, I felt like pretty much stayed the same from college, but the first time I rode eck, I mean, Sarah and everyone else at the barn just looked at me and they're like, "It looks like you're riding horsemanship in the English saddle, like, that's not
Yeah.
the style," and so we had to
I
work on that
remember
for a
that
little
change
while.
too.
Yeah, and everyone rode on, like, a looser rein back in the paints, like, I'm dating myself, but back in, like, 2010, 2011, when I was kind of finishing my career, they didn't really sit on the bit the way that I think, at least in my mind, what, like, the epitome of, like, a true horsemanship or a true at horse should, and so that's something that when I was horse shopping, I really wanted to find a horse that would allow me to do that. Because just after the college years where I think you have to have a tight rein because 'cause we're so worried about control, it just made me really appreciate that look instead of having one more on a drape that looked like, maybe you were just kinda going through, like, a trail pattern or a Western riding pattern, and you have great control and great steering, but to me, like, the pattern horses should sit right there, so that kinda changed my style a little bit too with the eck because when I finished, we were still kind of doing it on a little bit looser rein, and now they want their heads up and they want connection, and so yeah, we had to work on that a little bit too.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends. How do you make that transition with them from the horsemanship to the eck of like the different neck position for him? Was that difficult or is it pretty natural?
It's difficult with my horse specifically. He wants to keep his head so low. I mean, if you ever watch me just walking around on a loose rein, like his head is a foot above the ground. I mean, when he lunges, it's so low. That's just natural for him. And so getting it up has definitely been a struggle for the eck. I love it for the horsemanship because he'll just let me hold him and he sits right there and has weight on it. But And the Eck, he'll do the same thing. He'll just sit there, but then getting the whole thing elevated is still something we're probably working on. There are times I feel like it looks better than others, but yeah, he doesn't want to hold his head up high. And so that's probably our biggest challenge in the English right now is just working on getting him a little bit higher in his neck position. But I just have such control where it is right now. And it's hard, I guess, for me to give that up a little bit.
Yeah. So what are your goals going into next year after accomplishing so much this year?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I guess just to really build on what we have. My horse is so honest. I can trust him. It took me a minute to believe that I could trust him. I still, I think, do the college, like right before you go in, you choke up on your reins a little bit more just in case, you know? And I'm to the point where I no longer have to do that. But I want to be able to push things a little bit more and just find where our boundaries are. But he's just been so good and he's so fun to show. And I don't know. I don't really know what our goals are. It's hard for me to really think past the fall run. I kind of go into these 2 months of just no horse shows and just going out to the barn and having fun and seeing where it goes. But I'd love to maybe add the Western riding at some point. It's a class I really miss. I had a great Western riding horse as a youth kid. So that's always a class I watch people do, thinking, oh, if only I could do that one more time. So maybe that's something we work towards. But otherwise, yeah, just building on what we have and getting a little bit more aggressive, I think, in the fast maneuvers is probably a goal for next year.
I think that those are really good goals and they sound really realistic for you, which is really important for when you're like choosing your goals for the next show season. But how do you like rest, recover, reboot in the next couple months, over the holidays when you're not going to horse shows? How do you recover so that way you're ready to hit the next show season strong and feel like you had enough downtime to really let yourself like recoup and then get right back into it?
We always give the horses a little bit of a break after the world show. They're just so spent by this time of the year. So he'll go home, he'll have a little bit of time off. Obviously, with the holiday seasons, I'll be busy and out of town. But then, really, after Christmas, we're back to, our regular routine. We kind of hit the ground running. And I feel like with Sarah's program, especially, a lot gets done over the winter because, like I said before, just the fall show season is so hard on the horses and there's so little downtime to really work through things that you just kind of coast from like August on. And so, really, it's that winter, like December, January months where I feel like she really, really focuses on what we need to work on with all the horses and building from there. So there's a lot of progress that's made in those 2 months off. And then the first show we'll go to is Prairie Classic in Oklahoma in February. So that's kind of our little test of where we're at and what we still need to work on. But the 2 months off, at least from showing, is I think a really good time to regroup and like refocus on what needs to be worked on. But yeah, Sarah's just really good at figuring out a new plan for all the horses and what direction we need to go. And we try to get as much homework done in that little break from our show season. And then we'll hit the ground running starting February. And thankfully we still have a couple shows before all the summer stuff really spins up. So we'll get to test out what we have and kind of build from there.
I feel like championship season has kind of turned into almost half the season instead of just like a month at a time. And so you kind of have to start getting prepared sooner and sooner. But it's really cool that you guys take these 2 months to kind of slow down, reevaluate. Cause man, you can get so much done at home during that time, especially if you allow yourself the time and the patience and the energy for your horse to kind of recoup and you to recoup too. So that's really cool that you guys do that.
Absolutely. Sarah's really big on not showing through the holiday season. And I think that's really important for the horses because really that gives us this kind of time to really focus on new things. And if we were to do, I guess there's a Florida show towards the end of the year. If we had that one, we would just kind of give them a little break from the world show. And then it's like right back to show season. And so I think not committing to a show over the New Year's time really allows them that 2 months to really grow up a lot and they learn a lot. And like you said, I think it's really important for them to have that kind of mental break so that we can take them out of the show season mode and work on different things a little bit.
Well, and it's nice for the riders as well to give you guys a mental, physical break. Like, I think overall breaks are good. Otherwise, you run the risk of burning yourself out. You're at a lot higher risk for injury, all that sort of stuff. So breaks are good. It's good to like sit back, pause, not get so caught up in the hustle and bustle and look and reflect on your year and then see what you need to improve on for the next year. I think the holidays are a really good time to do that. And, there's always a lot of family things going on in the holidays. It's a good time of year to like sit back, give yourself a moment to breathe, and then get ready for the next year.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, all linked in the podcast notes. We'll see you next time. The information provided by Elevate Your Ride is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical or professional advice. While we discuss health and fitness topics related to equestrians, the content provided through this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests on Elevate Your Ride are their own and should not be taken as professional guidance. We strive to provide accurate and up to date information, but we cannot guarantee that the information will be applicable to every individual listener or that it reflects the most current research or guidelines. Before making any changes to your health and fitness routine, we strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional who can provide personalized advice based on your individual needs and circumstances. Elevate Your Ride and its creators will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages arising from the use of information on this podcast. Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. We are committed to providing high quality content and appreciate your trust in us as a source of information for your health and fitness journey.